Hello, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. This is a weekly podcast that is titled Writing a Podcast.
There
And
you go.
on this podcast, would discuss real life issues. So, welcome on board. Hello, Felipe. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, Clement. How's it going right there, Ukraine?
Yeah, very well. And how is Mexico today?
Mexico is fine as always. The weather is pretty good. Yeah, I just started university and I feel nervous because I have a lot of things to do. Tell me, how's your writing doing?
Oh,
Mhm.
very well, very well. I have a couple of projects that I need to finish, and it's been a pretty busy week for me because I'm
Okay,
currently working on two books, at the same
nice.
time. Yeah.
What about? What are you writing about? A novel,
Yes.
something different?
So I'm writing nonfiction. One of them is a book about Africa,
Oh, nice.
and yeah, and the other one is a book about community development.
Nice, nice. Well, for everyone who is watching this on YouTube, well, there is going to be a link in the description so you can check Clement's books, which are great. Okay, for everyone out there who is looking for a perfect title to read for this summer, well, you have some titles there. So yeah, Clement, it's very interesting because the last time I spoke to you was 1 week ago when we recorded our last podcast.
Yeah.
Last podcast, we didn't have enough material. Actually, we were improvising everything. In this case, we have a couple of topics we can discuss. So, as I said in the last time, I would like to discuss about the Afghanistan problem and everything going around on Afghanistan. So, what do you think about this problem? How can we start with this? Do you think it's something that is affecting everyone around the world, or is it just like a local problem?
Okay, thank you so much. So the Afghanistan crisis, I would say, is basically the Taliban taking over, the government of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And is it a global problem or is it just something that is local? Well, right now, we could say that it's the local problem, but in the long run, it's going to be a global problem. And the reasons are that when you have a terrorist organization in charge of a whole government of a country, you should expect that now they have a lot of power, they have a lot of money, they have a
Yeah.
lot of influence, and they are also having some kind of support from top countries like Russia, Saudi Arabia, and
Yeah.
China. So that gives them a lot of power. And what that means is that they could become a threat to the rest of
Mm-hmm.
the world by the time they begin to sponsor other terrorist organizations like Boko Haram and Al Qaeda, and even ISIS.
Yeah.
When that happens, the problem would no longer be a local problem, it would be an international problem because even right now in Africa, we have Boko Haram in Nigeria causing a lot of
Yeah.
havoc. So, but now that the Taliban is in power with so much wealth in
Mm-hmm.
Afghanistan, that could make Boko Haram become stronger and bolder, to
Yeah.
even perpetrate more evil. So now it's a local problem, but I think it's going to be um, a global problem in the near future.
Yeah, because I think this is interesting because this is the first time we check or we look at something that, in this case, a terrorist group has kidnapped the whole country. In this case,
Yeah.
they are taking all of the resources they have. And I think that's very dangerous, because, for example, with oil, I think that Afghanistan has a lot of natural resources
Yeah.
and they can start selling that to a different country, to a different organizations, and they are going to they'll have the ability to start creating a new empire. What do I
Yeah.
mean with empire? What am I trying to say with this? Well, I think that it's very dangerous because we haven't seen this before, right? They now a terrorist group has a whole country, and it's very sad because I was checking the other day some of the news. I was checking some of the images that are on the web, in which, in this case, the people from Afghanistan, they are trying to leave the country, and they are dying while doing that because they are trying to get onto the planes, but that's impossible, right? Because well, it's it's very sad. I think this is a very sad crisis, the one we are going through as humanity. I think the last 2 years have been a little bit tough for all of us, especially with COVID, now with the situation. I remember last year we were speaking about World War III with Iran and United States fighting for something. I don't remember like why they were fighting for, but in this case, it's interesting to check that, well, a terrorist group has a whole country in power. So we should be looking at that because, well, in my case, I live in America, the continent, right? But I don't know if, well, at some point we are going to have like a terrorist group, like the one that is like the Taliban's, right? If we are going to have them here in our territory, I don't know if that's going to happen. If that happens, well, I don't know, I think that's going to be a little bit sad and at the same time dangerous for everyone. So do you think well, for people who don't know about this, Clement is from Nigeria. Actually, he's living in Ukraine, but what do you think about people in Nigeria from your own experience? Do you think is there any benefit of having, well, not benefit, but for example, checking about Talibans, well, they say that this is going to be great for them, that they are going to respect women, that they are going to have rights. That's what they promised, right? They are not going to kill anyone. But do you think that has worked with Boko Haram in Nigeria? Do you think they actually convince someone to join Boko Haram? Can they do that in Afghanistan? I don't know if I was clear enough, but I think I
Okay.
got my point.
Okay, good. So you want to know if the rise of the Taliban in Afghanistan has any positive effect on Nigeria?
Not in Nigeria, but I would like to say in Afghanistan, but taking as an example what happened in Nigeria, right?
Oh, okay. Okay,
Mhm.
good. I get you. So now, the first thing I would like to say is that if you watch the news, you would
Yeah,
realize that recently the media is beginning to paint a picture of the Taliban as though the Taliban were not a terrorist group. They are painting a picture that makes the Taliban look very diplomatic and very responsible.
yeah,
Because whenever you watch the news, they are telling you how the Taliban were diplomatic to the United States, or how the Taliban has promised that they would never trample on women's rights,
yeah,
and how the Taliban is now allowing women to go to the university, but they have
yeah,
to do it, according to the Islamic laws and all of that. So I think that there is a kind of conspiracy somewhere to paint the Taliban as a normal government, right?
okay,
Not like a terrorist organization. And if we continue to give such kind of news, I tell you, in the next 1, 2 years, everybody would forget that the Taliban is an extremist terrorist organization.
yeah, uh-huh,
And it's unfortunate that the media is painting this picture, trying to make everybody believe that, okay, the Taliban are some very good people, some
yeah,
angels who are going to treat women and children with some kind of respect. But of course, you know that that is not going to happen. The Taliban would only make promises that they are going to do this just because they want to calm down everybody and make everyone think that, okay, they are going to be some very diplomatic people who would not trample on women's rights. But when you say, for example, that women can go to a separate university from men,
yeah,
that again already shows that you are not going to keep your promise. And when you say
yeah,
that they have to, dress in a certain way before they could go to school or before they could even go out, that already shows that they are going to keep trampling on women's rights. Now, did Boko Haram force people to join? That was the question you were asking, right? And
yeah. That's
do I
what you
think
told me, right?
such a thing,
Mhm.
yeah, such a thing would happen in Afghanistan? Now, what Boko Haram does is not really forcing people to become terrorists, but trying to force people to change their religion, to accept
Okay.
Islam. Okay, so that's what they're trying to do, because the goal is to establish an Islamic caliphate so
Hmm.
that the whole world actually becomes Islamic. When the
Yeah.
leader of the Taliban was interviewed the very day, I think either the very day or the next day after they took over the capital of Afghanistan, he said that the goal is to establish an Islamic caliphate not only in Afghanistan, but the rest of the world.
Okay.
Now, with such extremist ideology that thinks that only my religion
Uh-huh.
must be practiced by everybody, that takes away the freedom of religion.
Okay.
And that means you're trying to use force, coercion to make people accept your religion. And for me, I think that is totally unacceptable. And the
Okay.
media must call a spade a spade. They
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't paint the Taliban to look like some
Yeah.
beautiful angels,
Yeah, but now I think there is a difference between Nigeria and Afghanistan. And it's that in Afghanistan, the great majority of people, what's the name of them? I forgot them. They
Muslims.
belong to Islam. Muslims, exactly. They are Muslims. So I think there is a difference. Don't you think that in this case they are more susceptible of being convinced that there is something more, I don't know. That's my point of view. I think that it's going to be easier for them to get them into the Taliban forces. That's what I think. Because in Nigeria, I know there are a lot of Catholics, a lot of Christians, a lot of other religions. But in this case, the problem is that in Afghanistan, we only have Muslims, which I think is pretty sad. But yeah, it's terrible. It's very funny because I think that in some years, probably months, they are going to forget that the Talibans were attacking Afghanistan some years ago, right? That they were killing people just like that. And I don't know what to say. It's just like as if Hitler, succeeded. Or I don't know, like if we had the Nazi party right now, it would be the same thing. I think that's unacceptable, as you said. But let's see how it goes. I think it's a complex topic. And it goes, we have to check other topics, for example, feminism,
Yeah, but
gender
before
inequality, and
yeah,
LGBT in Afghanistan. Which we have to check how it is going to be in the future.
yeah,
I think that's going to be very interesting, don't you think?
yeah. Well, I wanted to say that yeah, if you look at the video of people running away from Afghanistan, trying
Uh-huh.
to, they were congesting the airports, trying to escape. Now, if these people, as you said, are all Muslim people,
Yeah.
why should they be running away from their own Muslim brothers who are the Taliban? So
Mm-hmm.
if they buy the ideology, if they support the ideology of the Taliban, then there wasn't any need for them to escape and run to other countries as refugees.
Yeah.
So what I think is that um, even though there are a lot of Muslims in Afghanistan, not all of them share the extremist views of the
Okay.
Taliban. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that there are some educated, civilized,
Okay.
Muslims who know that the Taliban are extreme and
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't want to live in such kind of governments where all their rights would be taken away.
Okay.
And that could be one of the reasons why a lot of people were trying to um, exit Afghanistan. And a second
Okay.
reason could be that the exodus of people that we saw could be a result of fear, people not sure of what would happen. So fear of the unknown. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
there could be a war in Afghanistan and all of that. So they needed to run for dear life.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Now,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, perhaps
Mm.
concerning LGBT feminism, right, and gender inequality
Exactly.
in Afghanistan under the Taliban. What I
Oh
would
my
say
God.
is that
Mm-hmm.
I do not see feminism and LGBT
Yeah.
happening or growing in Afghanistan in the near future.
Yeah.
But gender inequality definitely
Yeah.
would increase because
Exactly.
the Taliban are known for looking down on women
And even
as
domestic violence, right? And violence
domestic
in
violence
general.
also. Yes,
That's going
it's
to be
gonna
another problem.
increase. Yeah,
Yeah.
because human rights will not be respected.
Yeah, well, in Mexico, for example, we have this movement,
Femi-
feminism, which is a huge problem in Mexico. I don't know in Ukraine, which is a place you live in, nor in Nigeria, right? But feminism in Mexico is pretty bad right now. We have some cases of women they are just murdered because, well, they are just like that, right? We have these problems in Mexico. No one is trying to solve them. Now, the problem here in Mexico is that I think we have two poles. We have, people, they're divided. They don't know what to think about. If you ask some of my friends, they will tell you that feminism is just something odd, and it does not deserve our attention. But I think that feminism is just something that has to happen because, well, in Mexico, I don't know in Nigeria. I remember you told me once that in Nigeria the problem against women is pretty bad. In Mexico, we have a lot of problems with feminism. They are killing a lot of women daily, and they are not respecting them. It has to do with gender inequality. Now, I don't know about Islam. I don't know anything about their religion, but I think the Sharia law, which is the law they are following, is pretty bad against women. So I think that's going to be a huge problem for women in Afghanistan. And I don't know if these movements are going to have the capacity to keep going, especially if they are going to receive attention from the outer media, the BBC, CNN. If those channels are going to still covering, they're going to be covering the what's going on in Afghanistan, because I think it's very important to talk about these problems, not only the terrorism problem, but the other problems that are going to be emerging just because, well, they kidnapped the whole country. About feminism, I don't know. Was there like some movement in Afghanistan or something before this? I don't know.
Yeah,
I think so, right? Because I remember like it was 20 years ago they were not allowed to go to university. I think now they have the opportunity. And let's see what happens. I don't know if that's going to affect them, if they're going to, if they will have the opportunity to go there still. What do you think
yeah,
about this?
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, you know that prior to the time the Taliban took over the government,
Yeah,
there was this kind of wave of civilization that was coming towards the Arab nations,
yeah,
beginning with Saudi Arabia, where women were given the right to drive, by themselves for
hmm,
the first time and to go to the stadium by
yeah,
themselves or to go to the cinema by themselves. I thought that with what happened in Saudi Arabia, there was going to be a spread of that freedom for women across the Arab nations.
yeah,
So one would have thought that if not that the Taliban took over Afghanistan, one would have thought that such freedom would also be in Afghanistan. But now
hmm,
that we have an extremist organization in charge of the government in Afghanistan, I do not see, that becoming a possibility. So it means
yeah,
that women are going to, or they are going to go 20 years backward. Life in Afghanistan is going to retrogress. So they will be living, 20 years backward. And that means that women are going to have almost all their rights taken from them, you
yeah,
know. And will there be a feminist movement? Perhaps there would be some, pockets of feminist groups here and there. And the media can only just show that to the world, but the rest of the world cannot do anything about it
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because right now it is as though the Afghanistan defeated the United States. And when it defeated the United States, it means that they have defeated the world. So I don't think any feminist group would come from Afghanistan that would really make the rest of the world take any serious action. Because if
mm,
there was any action that should have been taken, it would have already happened and the Taliban would
yeah.
not have taken over power.
But
You know.
there is something you didn't mention. It's just that we have social media, we have internet. So I
Yeah.
think that with these new social medias and the new platforms that are emerging platforms,
Mm.
probably there is going to be some solution to the problem. Probably these people, these women, are going to they're going to demonstrate on the
Yeah.
social media. Like they are going to show the reality in Afghanistan. Now we have other organizations like the United Nations, and probably they are going to do something on this. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think feminism is just going to be affected, obviously, but what about LGBT? This movement has been, well, they have been suffering a lot lately. Even though they have like their own liberties and everything, they are trying to do whatever they want to do, and well, it's respectable. If you ask my opinion about LGBT, I think it's great for them. It's great that they have the opportunity to express themselves, that they can go out, they can love whoever they want to love. I think that's great. Everyone should be respected in the world. I'm not going to say anything about it because, well, I respect them. But countries like Mexico or Nigeria, we have a lot of problems with LGBT because not everyone accepts them. What about the Muslims? I think they don't accept LGBT at all. They are going to hang you up because you are like gay or you're lesbian. So do you think this is going to be a problem for the Talibans or people living in Afghanistan? I don't know about the community, the LGBT community in Afghanistan. Probably there are not a lot of people belonging to this community because, well, they are Muslims, and that affects the community itself. So do you think this is going to have like some problems in the future with this community or something?
Well, what I think is that I think the Quran and the Islamic books is completely against LGBT.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even the Bible, Christianity, is against
Yeah.
LGBT too. Uh, Unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, for the LGBT people, is that even Christian nations or
Mm-hmm.
countries that we call Christian countries have already accepted LGBT,
Yeah.
even though the Bible doesn't support it. But for the Islamic people, they have stood their ground to say that the Quran does not support LGBT. So we
Yeah.
don't even want to hear about LGBT in our nation, right?
Yeah.
So do I think that LGBT would grow or expand in Afghanistan? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
think maybe the first person that would probably come out to try to hold a gay party in LGBT
Will
might,
be killed.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
might be killed,
Yeah.
So, talking about human rights, I think that anybody has the right to do whatever they want to do,
Yeah.
you know, um, especially if you are living in a civilized nation where you can practice whatever you want to practice, you can do whatever you want to do, you can have any sexual orientation that you choose.
Yeah.
But for the Taliban, I doubt if they will give such freedom to anyone who would come in the
Yeah.
name of LGBT.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Speak about something different. Yeah.
I think
Uh-huh.
what LGBT people should do is to look away from Afghanistan. So imagine you live in Afghanistan and you are LGBT. Maybe you might need to relocate to a place where you have more freedom
Yeah.
to practice your, beliefs.
As you said, it is even difficult for them, right? Because no one accepts, or not everyone accepts LGBT. For example, civilized countries like United States, they have a lot of problems against LGBT, right? They have the neo-Nazi groups and them that they just don't want to have that kind of things, right?
Yeah.
If you ask me, I think, as you said, I support them completely. I don't have any problems. But there is something very interesting about this, about the inclusive language, all right, which is very interesting. In English, I don't know if that's the case because it's not my native language, but in Spanish, we have a lot of problems. I think in French, even in Chinese, we are trying to get rid of genders for articles, and I think it's very interesting because it does not have anything to do with LGBT at all. We are actually affecting the language. In Spanish, we have two genders, but we want to create a third one. And the third one is for people who don't think that they belong to, that they are not binary, not binary. I don't know the real name of that.
Okay.
But what do you think? Do you think we should change the language just because we have to respect others? Like just they create inclusive words. I think this is a very interesting topic I wanted to share with you today. What do you
Yeah.
think about this?
Well, so um, Mexico wants to introduce a new gender article, right? So,
Yeah,
well, in English, we have he, she, male, female,
yeah,
right? But now Mexico wants to have a third one. That is what you're trying to say, right? So
yeah, yeah,
now for me, I think that is completely unnecessary, right? Absolutely
yeah,
unnecessary. And the reason I say that is because from biology,
yeah,
we know we have two genders,
yeah,
male gender and female gender. If you go to genetics, we have two X chromosomes and you are a
yeah,
female. You have one X chromosome and one Y chromosome, you are a male. So there is And of course, if you look at the external genitalia, if you have a penis, yeah,
Yeah.
and a scrotum, you are a male. If you have a vagina, you are a female. So it is clear that all human beings are either males or females.
Yeah.
So I do not see the need for a third gender.
Okay.
Where is that coming from? What sex is that? A male or female? Or you are both male and female? Or you are not?
Yeah. No, and actually we're changing the language, which is going to be complicated for everyone, including myself, because I'm not used to speaking in a third gender. And we have a lot of people, they are angry because they want to change it, right? They don't have any background, they don't have anything to speak about. They just want to change it because, well, they think that's correct. I have divided thoughts. The first, well, on one hand, I think that we should change it, but for very specific cases, right? But on the other hand, I'm not going to refer to you as someone who is neuter. I think that's very awkward. Even like to think how you are going to speak because the other person is going to be offended. I think that's going to be really, really hard for some. I don't know. In English, do you have that distinction? Like, do you say something like they for people who they identify themselves like something in between those two? Mm-hmm.
No, when we use they,
Mm-hmm.
right, it could mean um, male or female,
Yeah.
more
Mm-hmm.
than one male, more than one female, but it does not
Mm-hmm.
represent a neuter gender.
But I cannot call you like they, Clement, right? It does
No,
not exist in English.
no.
No, because in Spanish we have the same thing. Well, we don't have the same thing. We actually have two genders, and I don't know. I think they belong to the LGBT community. They want to change this because they think it's very manly, to give. For example, it's just that we refer to women when we have women and men. We just say like they, but we are referring to men, right? Something like that. I don't know if you understand my example.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes they think that's not fair for people who don't feel they belong to this group or this other. So I don't know. I think it's very unnecessary just to change that because you think that's incorrect. I think the Spanish language is very beautiful. It's very structured. In English, I don't know if that's the case because in English you only have one gender. You say like the boys, the girls.
Mhm.
You don't say like the girls, the boys, something like that. It's not something like that. But I think that in Old English you used to have that, right? Something like, well, I was reading the Bible and there are
Yeah.
like some articles like die, do, dine. I don't know. Can you give me like some information about that?
Yeah, so thou, thine is just talking about, it just means you. So that's the
You.
meaning, you.
Uh-huh.
It means
Okay.
you. So if I say um, thine is the book, like the book is yours.
So just like the object, right? You're referring to the
Yeah,
object.
yeah. So it
Oh,
just means the book is yours. Or where art thou? I'm saying
mhm.
where are you?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
Uh,
thou, thine just means you and yours.
yeah, but could you speak like that forever? It would be natural for you?
No, no, it's not natural
Uh,
for me because
because
I, I,
that's
I
what they
didn't grow
want
up.
to do. That's
Yeah.
what they want to do, to give me new rules, and I have to use them in order to respect others. And now we have like this organization, this organism, which is like Cambridge or something like that, like the Merriam-Webster in Spanish, and they said something like no, that they don't recognize that because it's, well, you know it does not reserve any recognition. And well, it's pretty funny because a lot of people, they are mad, and I'm not going to speak like that, right? It's very awkward. But we're receiving like these new things, right? I don't know, but going back to Afghanistan, I think that's going to be a problem because like language like Arabic actually comes from the Quran, right? So I think they won't be able to do something like that. I think it will be pretty funny to see if someone says that in Arabic they require like something like that. I think it's a different case, but for example, like a Romance language like Spanish, it's completely impossible. In English, I don't know if there's something like that. How do you describe transgenders in English? Do you use like a very specific pronoun, or did you just say she or
Well,
her?
so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are actually confused and they try to make fun of. people who are transgender because they don't know
Yeah.
whether to call them he or she.
Oh
So
my
in
God. Yeah.
Nigeria, there is a popular guy called Bobrisky. Yeah, so
Okay.
he's a male, but then he dresses like a female and claims to be a female.
Yeah.
So when people address him, they start the sentence with he, and then somewhere they change to she. So they
She. Oh yeah.
so they call it he, she, or they
Yeah.
start with she, they call him he. So they are confused. So why? Because there is no word to describe
Yeah.
such kind of people.
Exactly. Yeah, well, I don't know if you have been in that awkward situation in which you call someone who feels that he's a male or a female and you call him like he or she. I've been in that awkward situation. I remember I called a friend. She's well, she actually she, but I call him he. You know, so I was feeling very very embarrassed because I don't know what to say. I don't know if you have been in that situation in which you don't know what to say. Have you ever been in
No,
that
well,
situation?
no,
Hmm.
no, I haven't because I don't have any friend who is transgender, and
Okay.
haven't had a conversation with any transgender person. But
Yeah.
if what I would do if I meet someone who was originally naturally
Hmm.
male and then now is claiming female, I would rather call him by nature, by his natural
Okay.
orientation.
All
Yeah.
right.
But except if he gets offended by it. If he gets
Mm-hmm.
offended by it, then I rather wouldn't call him anything because
So I think there should be a third pronoun for that, don't you think? Like something like that for someone who, well, it's just that you can respect others, using like a third pronoun. In Spanish we don't have that. In English you don't have that, but in German they have that, right? So for example, the sun, I think that's female, but they have like any other object, like for example the glass, like a glass of water, which is neutral. I don't know. Probably I'm just lying, but a friend of mine explained me that. That would be great, right? To have like a third pronoun, don't you think?
but in English what we have he, she, it.
Eat, exactly.
So
Uh-huh.
it, um, you don't say whether it is male or female,
Yeah.
but we use it for inanimate objects, right? Non-living things, just object like phone. Yeah, I can use
Mm-hmm.
it, but
Yeah.
not for humans, except if these maybe LGBT people want to accept it,
But that, I
then
think that would be an offense for them, don't you think? Because probably they're going to think that they are objects. I don't know. I'm just thinking like them. I think it's not a great option.
yeah. So, but we already have, a pronoun that does
Yeah.
not identify gender. So,
Okay.
what is wrong if they take it? For example,
Uh,
if you give birth to a new baby, right,
yeah.
and you don't know the sex of the baby yet, I
If
could
a
ask
bit.
you, what
Mm-hmm.
baby is it?
Mm-hmm.
But that is a baby, a newborn baby. I use it for the newborn baby because I don't know if the baby is a male or a female, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you cannot identify what the gender is, then you can use it. So I don't think that they should get offended by it. It is not a word, is not of lower importance than he or she.
Yeah.
You get,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, let's see. I think that's very interesting, like the nature of the language, right? I think that's not going to change. But let's see how it goes. I mean, especially Spanish, as I said, a lot of people got angry. They were like, "Oh my God, what are you going to change this?" Right? We have like divided opinions, and I don't know. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. It's very impressive. I didn't know that in English we have three pronouns. I didn't know that, but now it's good to know. Well, I used to know, but I didn't remember it. That's it about. Now let's go to domestic violence, right? I think this is one of the most important problems we have in the world. In Ukraine, where you used to, well, did you know about someone who was suffering from domestic violence, just like that?
Well, on a personal level, I haven't really met anyone who
All right.
uh, suffered from domestic violence or who said that he
Mm-hmm.
or she suffered from domestic violence. But reading articles online about domestic violence in Ukraine, yes, there is domestic violence in Ukraine, but of course, not
Okay.
as much as we
And in
have.
Ukraine, sorry, in Nigeria, do you think there was something like that?
Oh, I know. Not that.
I know.
I'm not thinking. I know that there is
You
domestic
know.
violence in Nigeria, because everywhere you would see domestic violence in Nigeria, and that is because of gender inequality once again, and the mindset that women are inferior to men. So because of that mindset, men think that they are powerful and that they can oppress women and they can force women to do whatever they want. And that leads to domestic violence. So it's prevalent in Nigeria.
But don't you think it has to do something with religion itself? Like this inferiority has to do something with religion? Like, for example, in the Bible, they said something like Eve was a creation because God took a rib from, like, I don't remember the story.
Adam.
Adam, exactly. But something like that happened. So don't you think it has to do something with the fact that religion or the Bible said something that probably we misunderstood? And we were trying to convert into something different.
Yeah, I will agree with you that it's a misrepresentation of the Bible. Even though the Bible said that the woman was made from the ribs of the man, that does not in any way mean inferiority. So it doesn't mean that the woman is inferior. So, okay, what would you say to the man? The man was made from dust, from clay. So that means that the man is inferior to clay. If we want to go by that, ideology that because the woman was made from the man, then she is inferior to the man. Then we can also say that since the man was made from dust, then it means that man is inferior to dust. But you see, it doesn't make sense. So the fact that the woman was made from the man does not mean the woman is inferior. However, I would say that if you read through the Bible, even in that Genesis where God created, Adam and Eve, the Bible said God created them male and female, and He gave them dominion, over the earth. So both male and female have dominion over the earth. Nobody should dominate over the other person. We as humans were only commanded to have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the earth, but not dominion over another human being. So a man should not dominate a woman, and a woman should not dominate a man. Both male and female are equal, because they both are humans with, created in God's image and have God's spirit in them. So nobody should be treated inferiorly. If anybody says that they are abusing women because of the Bible, it means that they have misinterpreted the Bible. Yeah.
So the thing has to do just with it. It has to do only with education, right? Like the education the person received, like the experiences he lived, right, or she lived in this case. Okay. And how can we solve that? How can we solve that? Because in Mexico, it's a big problem, and generation by generation, we're still receiving cases from people who are abused, women who are abused just because the man thinks that he is inferior, right? But there is not any solution. We are not trying to change the culture at all. Now we have social media, right? We have groups that they are trying to convince others that being manly now is not the solution to the problem. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think there is a solution to stop gender inequality, domestic violence, something like that?
Yeah. So the solution is education. People need to be educated. From a religious point of view, to be honest with you, there are a lot of churches where they preach that the man is superior to the woman. They pick a verse of scripture that says that the husband is the head, of the house. And so they twist that to mean superiority, But what I say is that your head is not superior to your body, because without your body, your head cannot survive by itself.
It's a whole system.
It's a whole system. And, without your head, your body cannot survive. So when the Bible says that the man is the head, it does not mean superiority at all. It doesn't mean superiority. So for us to solve that problem, we need to, number one, educate people. We need to teach them exactly what the Bible is saying.
Yeah.
Now, for the Quran, I don't know what the Quran says about women, but from what I see, it would appear that the Quran dehumanizes women and makes them look like some objects. You
Yeah.
get? So it means that people need to be taught the truth about women, from the Quran. And then in our schools, we need to teach people that we're all humans and that we are all equal. We need human rights organization, civil society organization to, sponsor campaigns that say that women and men are equal. The only difference we have is just in an anatomy. But in
Yeah.
terms of worth and value, we are all
You're the
equally
same. Mhm.
important and
Yeah.
valuable.
So I think it's very interesting. I think we are advancing, right? We are improving. In Mexico, we have a lot of organizations, and we are trying to improve. People they understand that we are the same. The new generations we have this new idea that we should respect women, we should respect men, and I think that's great. I don't know if you have these kind of things in Nigeria. Of course, you have terrorist groups in Nigeria like Boko Haram. In Mexico, we have other problems that we can speak about later in any other program. But yeah, I think that the new generations they are born with this ideology that that women should be respected. So I think that's great, right? Let's see how it goes. I think it was a very interesting talk, the one we have today. And yeah, that was it. I think it was very interesting to discuss the topics we were going to discuss. So, Clement, do you want to add something before we finish this second edition of Writing a Podcast?
Yeah, I would like to say concerning gender inequality and domestic violence, there is a book I would love to recommend, to our viewers to read to get educated on the equality between male and female. And that book is titled I Am a Woman, I Am a Human,
Excellent
written
book. I read that one. Yeah,
written by Topsy Gift, my wife. So that book
excellent.
would teach you why male and female are equal and how to stop domestic violence and gender inequality in the society.
I
Yeah.
think that's great. The description of the book, well, the book link is going to be in the description. So
Yeah.
everyone who is interested in it, well, you can go and check it. Okay, Clement. So it was nice to have this talk, but time is up, so we have to stop it. Next edition, we are going to discuss different other topics. This one was an interesting one. It's just 12 p.m. in Mexico, so I'm almost dying, you know. So it was an excellent chat, Clement, the one we had. And
Yeah.
that's everything I would like to add. It was nice to see you as always. Let's see how, well, if we have any other chat later. Okay,
Thank you. Thank you so
thank you.
much.
Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone, and thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.